If you're watching us today, then this might be a little jarring. We're coming to you straight from Whitby, Ontario. Shout out Whitby. In 4K 24p crystal clear. Unlike this Ireland T20I series. Welcome to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed, and this is an episode about Babar Azam fans got no chill. Today we're talking about Ireland versus Pakistan, the good, the bad, and the ugly. With me as always is my brother and co-host Bashar Sayed.
The only ugly thing about this whole series was the broadcasting. And I feel like some games that happen here locally in Toronto have better visuals, better camera angles. Some of the indoor nets in Canada have speed guns. So you can deliver a ball and the speed shows up instantly. That's something that was missing in this series. It seemed like you were watching club level cricket. Some club matches have better broadcasting visuals, but
man, honestly, I don't want to pick on the Irish too much, man. Like it just shows the level of revenue that goes to the Irish Cricket Board and what they're able to produce. It just goes to show that these type of series need to happen more often, and bigger teams like India, Australia, England need to tour smaller teams quite often. I think a bit more frequent visits would help just enhance the broadcasting experience that you and I had back home. And it's not like they can't do it. I've seen test matches there. I've seen
when India toured there last time in 2022, they had speed guns. They had better broadcasting services.
I think they were also touring. They were playing in Malahide, and this was Cornlarf or one of those tough named cities. And this is why they were always going back to that. Hey, this venue is not really international material. It's good that Pakistan is playing here. It's getting some visibility. It's going to get a lot more eyeballs. People are going to invest in it. Malahide is already a distinguished venue. People play there all the time. Big teams come in there and play there all the time. So it's a chance for a smaller venue to get some light. And I'm all in favor of it. Was the broadcasting tough? Yes, it was. But I don't think today is the day to bully the Irish.
I have a question for you. And this is a question that was actually brought to me by one of my Indian friends that plays on my team. And he was like, the World Cup is happening in the West Indies and the USA. Explain to me how a series against Ireland in Ireland, followed by a series against England in England, is helping Pakistan prepare for the conditions in the USA, the Caribbean. Like, what is the point of these tours? What is the point of like playing a third string New Zealand side and then an Ireland side that's without their main bowler, Josh Little, who's at the IPL? And then, yes, you can say the England team is going to be a full strength team. But what are we trying to gain here? Is Pakistan coming out of this series with more questions than answers?
I feel like this was the same podcast that we did back in the New Zealand series at home, where we're like, I don't think anything is settled. And we just played 4 games, and I feel like we have more questions left on the table than we had answers. One thing I do know for sure is that these series do help in terms of match minutes gained, especially for people like Saim and Azam, who need that as much as possible. You know, even if you're in an international circuit, you're playing international minutes on the pitch. It just helps you become a better player when it comes to the tough moments in the World Cup. Ireland series makes a little bit more sense to me just because, you know, they're in your pool. You want to know the strength. You just want to go in. You don't want to go in blind, especially after the Zimbabwe debacle in 2022. I don't think PCB and Babar and Co are taking any chances. Secondly, not a bad call to play the English in English conditions. Their conditions are tough. They're a world-class team. They beat you in the final. And I think just to go back and revisit maybe the toughest team in the leg in the tournament, not a bad call. They're going to have home court advantage, which is fine for Pakistan. It makes those wins, if they occur in the next couple of weeks, that much more sweeter. So I have no problem in all of this. I think the more T20Is, more international bilateral series they play, that's good. I just wish and hope that somehow they find a way to make these series engaging. The only way these series are even remotely fun to watch is when Pakistan loses. And then you're like, oh no, disaster is upon board, that we have hit the Titanic, iceberg ahead. Nope, we have crashed into the iceberg. And then, we see how the Pakistan team resets from there. They've done it twice now. And I would have rather had them have a clean slate, no losses at all. But I think this is quite a contrast situation from the 2023 World Cup that we just had last year, the big one, the 50 over one, where Pakistan was sort of favorites. We had our bets picked up, and maybe it was a bit of overconfidence. Maybe it was a bit of stat padding that was getting to their heads. But this seems to be a good wake up call for everybody involved. And I don't have any problems with it. I don't know why you do.
I just think these series are like, especially the series against Ireland, it can be misleading sometimes. And for players, it could be very tough, especially for Babar Azam as a captain. It's sort of like you win and it's business as usual. But as soon as you lose a match, everyone starts focusing on that loss. Oh my God, the first loss Pakistan had since the 2007 ODI World Cup. And unlucky for Azam Khan, he was part of both squads. He was a player back then. He's a coach this time around. And like if Babar scores runs, he's stat padding. If he gets out for a 0 like the second match, he's not good enough. So there's no real win-win for Pakistan in this series. They lost the first match. It was just absolute chaos on the media. And we were being requested to do an emergency podcast, but we decided to go against that.
We couldn't. We were at the Blue Jays game. And this is the most insane turn of events. This is how insane life has become as a Backward Point co-host. A few days ago, we had Carlos Brathwaite in the podcast. That podcast is then probably going to be out in a few days after this one comes out. So stay tuned to that, guys. And we were just discussing with Carlos on the podcast and off the record as well who he supports. And he was like, you know what, West Indies all the way. But what I really want is like an upsets are really fun in these situations where, as in Ireland beats Pakistan. And I was like, why do you got to say that, man? Why can't you say anything else? And then on Friday, when that happened, when Ireland beat Pakistan the first T20, I was with Carlos. And I was like, why? You could have said anything else. And he's like, man, I said it on the podcast, clip it. And the guy has foresight. What can I say? Remember the name? I remember his name when that was happening.
Remember the prediction.
Remember the prediction. Like, remember the chaos. And it was one of those things where I was like, firstly, can't believe Carlos Brathwaite just bet on something in front of me. And now we're like having a conversation about this. Secondly, can't believe Pakistan actually pulled off this loss. It's incredible that this happened. But honestly, it was kind of on the cards. People kept saying par score. 180 is not enough for any side. We got whipped by New Zealand in that home series. And now we got whipped by Ireland. And I think after that, there was definitely a mindset shift in the Pakistani camp. In the next couple of games, you saw Pakistan play a lot more aggressively in the middle. You saw them chase targets like 195 and this one in 178 in 17 overs and 16.5 overs. So you're seeing that mindset shift. There's a full 3 overs left before the target was chased in both occasions. That just means that Pakistan have figured it out. And maybe Azam Khan is the key. Maybe a good start from the openers are the key. Maybe the intent changing is the key. I definitely want to talk about a few different things. People sort of have that impression that we wanted Mohammad Rizwan out of the team and we wanted Babar Azam out of the team and that we're happy when Babar scored a duck. A tweet of ours got viral, which I will take responsibility if I tweeted it out, which if anybody is a frequent listener and viewer of this podcast knows that when we started the podcast with Babar Azam took back the captaincy, the cold open to that podcast was the line from The Dark Knight, which says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. When Babar got out on duck, I just retweeted that. And boy, did the hive come at me, man.
I think it was taken out of context because not everybody on Twitter listens to the podcast. Some people just follow us or they stay in touch for our opinions.
And they should start following the podcast because, you guys are missing out on some juicy news.
Yeah. So, but I think on the record, you did mention that you like Rizwan isn't fit. You're playing 11. So how do you defend that after this series?
No, Rizwan isn't fit. Are playing 11. Oh, my playing 11. Yes. Because of the intent situation, because of the way that he was playing. Now, in both games that he scored 50s in, let me just pull up the numbers real quick. So in the second T20, he scored 75 of 46 at 163 strike rate, which I have no problems with, by the way. And in this game that just happened today, he scored 56 off 38 at 147 strike rate. Way more than his average career strike rate of 128, 130. If I just double check that, I'll let you know.
His career strike rate is like 128, 129.
128.2.
Yeah.
And that's 30 to 40 points above his career strike rate. I have an issue with Mohammad Rizwan, the anchor. I don't have an issue with Mohammad Rizwan, the aggressor. Right? That's the problem that was ensuing Pakistan in the 2022 World Cup. There were moments after that even where we saw that if the target is not par, meaning 160 to 180, it was getting tough for Pakistan to chase up because the openers, i.e. Babar and Rizwan, were coming up and chewing up too many balls in the power play in the first 10 and then leaving too much behind for the power hitters to come out. I feel like that is one of the big reasons why the middle order stability was not prevalent for Pakistan. You saw people like Khushdil Shah, Asif Ali, Haider Ali come in and go many a times, not really finding their footing in that spot because of the magnitude of what the numbers would say. Like whatever was left on the table was just too much for these guys to come in and just whack at it. People like Asif Ali and Haider Ali they won't perform 8 out of 10 games, but they'll perform 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. And those are the wins that you're going to need. Like Asif Ali comes in, scores 4 sixes, and Pakistan beat Afghanistan in the 2021 World Cup. Those are the sort of innings that you're going to rely on when you're having those high impact players. I feel like we lost a lot of those good players because of those timid starts in the beginning from this Rizbar partnership. Now, there's a lot of people coming out and being like, see, Saim is not the answer. Saim has 145 run score here and then 2 not so flashy starts. And Rizbar is the answer. Rizbar is coming in, scoring the runs. Again, to everyone who has that POV, I come here on Backward Point and say this. You have to give him time. Again, he is a high impact player. He will play in the games where you need to score 200, where you need to score 210, and he will give you that start. You got to keep backing this guy. I'm so happy that Azam is in the runs because Azam was people were so critical of Azam, and then it gets really quickly from criticism to bullying with Azam, which is tough, and I'm not really a big fan of that. But I was glad that he was in the runs. He scored 30 odd in the second T20 and 18 in this, and he finished it off in style. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of criticism on the critics, and it's tough to operate in those scenarios. I feel like you felt the heat a little bit today when I was scolded before a Backward Point meeting on you gotta stop tweeting, bro. You gotta stop tweeting. And I'm like, we used to tweet this all the time. Why should I stop? Because a certain hive is on our case right now. I'm not gonna do it, and I wouldn't do it. And I told this to my boss man here that it's not happening.
I think a couple of different important points you mentioned. The first one is Pakistan's top 3. And second one is the reason why Pakistan lost the first match in this series and then the couple of matches they lost against New Zealand, because Pakistan has an issue of setting targets. Now, the mentality that I think me and you grew up with, or what I can say is what we were used to, is the Pakistan team of the 2010s had a simple formula: win the toss, bat first, score 150 plus, and then we have bowlers like Umar Gul, Saeed Ajmal, Mohammad Hafiz, Shaheen Afridi, who could come in, easily defend that target. That used to work back 10 years back. But I think times have changed now. Cricket, or I would say T20 cricket, has evolved. And if you're not scoring 200 plus on a pitch where 180, 190 is par, if you're not scoring above par, you're going to be behind the game. And I think there's an important stat that Mazhar Rashid mentioned, that Pakistan is one of the teams that hasn't scored 200 while batting first in a while. And they also have an incredible contrast while batting first and chasing. So the stat that was mentioned by Mazhar is the following. He says that since the men's T20 World Cup in 2022, Pakistan's scoring rate while batting first is 8.08. While chasing, it is 9.28. That is a difference of nearly 25 runs across 20 overs. And perhaps that is why every time Pakistan loses, defending scores, Babar comes out and says that we lost because of poor bowling, poor fielding. And very rarely do we hear to say that we are 10 to 15 runs or 20 runs short.
Yeah, no, this is, again, Mazhar Rashid with the GOAT stat, as always. Respect Mazhar. He's the guy. He's like, if you don't follow anybody on Twitter and if you feel like it's a cesspool of utter shit, you're right. Firstly, secondly, the one person you should follow is Muzzer. He's got it right. He knows what he's talking about. And yeah, like it shows, it's so evident in the game plan on how a Pakistan team constructs the chase while constructing a total in the first innings. It's vastly different. Like the fact that Pakistan was chasing twice in this last two games and Pakistan won with in one game 18 balls to spare, in one game 19 balls to spare. That just goes to show that their intent, the way that they were taking on the game was completely different. Maybe the first loss had something to do with it. Maybe it triggered something in the players. You can't say for sure, but definitely there was a momentum shift when that happened. Now, how does Pakistan translate that into the first innings? That's the question.
Because I think what they did great the second match is that despite losing 2 wickets in the power play, like they lost Babar, they lost Saim, they were 13 for 2. Fakhar Zaman and Mohammad Rizwan kept going at it. They kept going out, scoring boundaries, taking risks, and trying to maintain what the required run rate was. And ultimately, Pakistan finished that match with 3 overs to go, thanks to that incredible partnership by Fakhar and Rizwan and the great finish by Azam in the end. So I think there is a bit of a mindset shift. The first important change we see now that Gary Kirsten is officially Pakistan's coach is Rizwan is now opening with Saim and Babar comes one down. Babar on record said that he prefers opening and one down is in a spot where he's too comfortable with. I felt like Rizwan was unhappy batting one down and Babar was a bit more comfortable batting as an opener. But the only change that I can say that's happened between the last series to this one is that Gary has come into the picture. And I'm assuming that Gary had a talk with Babar and said that Babar, I think you best fit at number 3. And that's why Rizwan is now opening with Saim. Now, I love this Rizwan 2.0 because me and you both had issues with the way that Rizwan was playing. By no means do we don't want, at least I don't want Rizwan in my 11. I want him in my 11. I think he's performed enough to have past 3 years in World Cups and bilaterals that you have to give him a proper chance to up his game. Like you, I am not a fan of having 2 anchors in the top 3. But if Rizwan ups his game, if he ups the way he plays, if he increases his scoring rate, if he increases his boundary stuff, 6-8 ability, what he did the last 2 games, this is the Mohammad Rizwan that I want. We won't have conversations of should we have a Haris and Saim Ayub opening pair or should we have Fakhar Zaman opening? Because if Rizwan can give you that attacking start, if we can make the most of the power play, there is no debate of not having Rizwan on the team.
To quote the man himself, if you think about averages, you become an average player. And there was a lot of talk about average this season, especially this series, where Rizwan's average was the second best, just behind Virat Kohli's. Big difference. I checked the stats on that. Again, Rizwan's strike rate 128, Kohli's strike rate 138. Those 10 points make a big difference when it comes to chasing, when it comes to setting scores. And, I'm all for Pakistan getting those valuable benchmarks. But when it comes to just impact, this is the Rizwan that I need.
Now, you speak of impact. My question to you is, Saim Ayub at this point has gotten 20 matches, 18 innings. He has an average of 15.7 and his strike rate a tad bit over 130. How many more opportunities do we give Saim Ayub? Because it seemed like we had Saim as the first name down on our World Cup playing 11. And with his recent form, with his recent performances for Pakistan, he hasn't translated his abilities to the international stage just yet. What happens if Saim continues to fail in the England series? I'm not a big fan of milestones, but what the people have been talking about is that 20 matches and Saim has no 50 yet. And his highest score is 49. He has shown glimpses of brilliances, like the no-look shot is there. Some of the drives look very good, but he's not able to convert an innings into a big score of a 70, of an 80, of a match-winning finish yet.
I think you got to let him cook a little bit more. 18 innings is a good enough sample size, yes, but then if you go back into his T20 record, it's impeccable. Like, this man knows how to cricket. And sometimes it takes time for them to sort of switch over to international cricket. There's no defense to his lack of form in the greens, definitely. There is something that needs to be done. Maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe it's just he's cooking too much. That's also a
At
point.
this point, we're baking him.
He's being baked. At this point, he seems baked. And you gotta sit him down and be like, not every delivery that you play is going to be a no-look shot 6. That's just not how cricket
Sometimes
works.
you gotta look.
Sometimes you gotta look. Sometimes,
Eyes on the ball.
eye on the ball, forward defense. You know, when we went to PI Cricket Academy, the first thing they taught was forward defense. 9 shape. You remember that? Gotta be in a 9 shape. And Saim is a beautiful batsman to look at. He has those cover drives. He has the unorthodox shot here and there, but he needs to temper himself a little bit more. He got out on 49. He made 45 on this series as well. Just, you know, when you're high 40s, take your time. Cricket is such a funny game. Once you overcome that benchmark of 50, you're just a completely new player. Babar Azam knows this best. Like from 0 to 20, he's a different batsman. From 20 to 40, he's a completely different batsman. And from 40 to 50, he's a little bit of a different and 50 to 70, he's a different batsman all over again. Like, you got to temper your innings a little bit. And I feel like Saim just thinks he's like Adam Gilchrist or something. Like, he just wants to go out there and every single ball for 6. And that's the tough one for me, is that his temperament needs to cool down. Now, I'm not asking Saim to go out there and change his game at all. No. But to tweak it a little bit, just to... Because international cricket is a bit more demanding. Like, maybe you could go out in the leagues and do that, you know, just go ballistic. But T20 cricket, international especially, needs you to calm down a little bit, get your nerves up and play a few overs. The first over does not have to go for 15. The first can go for 6, the second can go for 15, or the third can go for 15, and then you sort of get your rhythm in. I think for Saim Ayub, you back him up all the way to the World Cup until, like, there's no point in like setting him down and getting Fakhar up the order again, or getting Babar up the order again and getting him one down. I think you have a very solid foundation there, just because if this is the sort of trajectory that we've seen, if Saim fails, it doesn't get that start that you need, then Babar comes in and stabilizes and gets a good start, or Rizwan takes the offensive and gets a good start.
I'm still in that boat where I say if Saim gets out, you send Fakhar up the order.
I was just going to say that.
Especially in the power play.
That is the maximum utilization of both Saim, Fakhar, and the power play. Because if you know that Babar and Rizwan can turn it up whenever they want, and if they want, they should, they need to, then if you get a Saim wicket early on, you send Fakhar in.
Because you also then maintain the lefty-righty combination.
Correct. And it's a no-brainer. They're similar players. One's a little bit deeper into his career, one's starting his career. I think it's a good moment for them to sort of have that partnership where they come in and pass the baton. At the same time, somebody's got to sit down. It has to be Babar, right? Babar opens with Saim for the Zalmi. It has to be Babar. He has to sit him down. Just take your time, bro. Just settle in a little bit. I want you to play 10 overs in this T20 and not 4. If Saim plays 10 overs in a T20 game, Pakistan, there's nothing stopping Pakistan from winning. Like, that's just I believe this. Like, this is my faith. And just for Saim, just getting those starts, he's not converting them. I'm hearing some chatter. Ramiz Raja's Ramiz Speaks video, I just saw this, where he talks about how you should try Saim in the middle order. Just can't believe this man was chairman.
This guy has no game sense, bro.
This is the worst opinion I've heard.
This guy has no game sense.
Of all time. You could play Saim at 6? What? Why don't you open with Azam then? Like, honestly, this is one of the worst takes, Rambo, and I honestly respect a lot of your takes. But that's not the answer. You back Saim throughout the English series and in the few T20 World Cup games. You'll find Saim in a different mind state. If that does not change, then we have questions.
We'll get to that when that happens. But I really want Saim Ayub to succeed, because I think with his success at the top, it's really going to help Pakistan's chances of winning this upcoming World Cup. So I'm all for giving him some more opportunities.
It's just the thing that annoys me about Saim is that he's such a good player. And when he gets started, he can do really well. All 3 times that he's gotten out in this series were just stupid. It was abysmal. None of the times did the bowler get the better of Saim. It's Saim just throwing his wicket away. And that just means that there's something going wrong in the cranium. And that just needs to talking to. Because 45 of 29 in the first one, man. 155 strike rate, 4 fours and 3 sixes. Like, that's the Saim that you need. And that was a game where Rizwan was out on 1 with 4 deliveries. And Babar came in and played an anchor's role at 57 runs at 43 deliveries. But then what happens? The first game, it's really annoying. If you go game by game, Vishal, I think this is a good moment to switch over to that. Saim hits 45 of 29 and you know, the first wicket goes off at 7. When Saim goes out for 11.2 overs, it's 92 for 2. Right? What happened?
Yeah, there was something in the middle order where Fakhr was really struggling and Babar never really got going because Babar's playing his game. Babar is anchoring. That's what his game
Look
is.
at this. 43 ball, 57. Fine. It was an anchor's innings. Maybe Babar could have stepped it up a little bit. Maybe he could have gotten some help from Fakhr, who gave an abysmal 20 runs off 18, 111 strike rate. That period right there just bogged everything down. You come out, then Azam scores a double ball duck, and then Shadab gets a golden duck. Like it's just one of those things where what do you do? If it wasn't for Iftikhar coming in and scoring 37 off 15 and Shaheen Afridi scoring 14 off 8, you weren't even close to par. You were going to lie in some of the 170s. And don't forget, Shaheen Afridi's, Imran Khan / all-rounder arc isn't really thriving because he comes out, he hits a 6 or he hits a 4 and then hits 4 straight dot balls.
I was kind of shocked they sent Shaheen above Imad because I feel like we're really underutilizing Imad unless we're like the plan is to keep him as a surprise package to the World Cup, but he's not really a surprise package.
What's surprising about Imad? Like everybody can see his game in the PSL that just went by. Like he was a single standout player in all the crunch matches for Pakistan. So it's not like he's just a brand new player like Abrar. Like they're keeping Abrar away from the world for some reason. And that is more of a mystery than Abrar's own mystery deliveries to me. Why isn't they not playing him? Three T20Is played. No Abrar. You even shut Shadab out, but you don't bring him in.
Yeah, I have some serious doubts on Shadab Khan, the bowler. We love his batting on this podcast. We think he should bat higher up the order. And we've seen that happen in the couple of games he played recently. But I just think Shadab, the bowler, we're still missing the Shadab of the 2021 World Cup and the 2022 T20 World Cup. So I don't know what it is about Shadab. Maybe he needs some more practice in the nets, technical work, some more matches. But seeing Shadab not performing with the ball and also knowing that we don't have Osama Mir in the backup, that is concerning to me because we're not playing Abrar, we're not playing Shadab, and you can play four-seamers in the UK, but once you come here to the USA, New York and Florida, where Pakistan has World Cup matches, I think it's going to be some turning tracks, some double pace wickets. They're dropping pitches. So you will definitely need two spinners on this pitch. Also, not seeing Iftikhar ball in new overs and then Saim Ayub coming in as a part-timer. I don't know if Saim is World Cup bowling ready. I think Iftikhar is. Iftikhar was one of our most economical bowlers in the last ODI World Cup that happened in India. So I don't know exactly the thought process that happened with some decisions in this series. Like, are we experimenting, or is this actually our World Cup combination?
You watched the first T20. I didn't see Shadab's bowling. He got hit for 54 and 4. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just inconsistent lines. Exactly what happened to Shadab last year. It's just a continuation of that. Last year's against New Zealand, I think he was like safeguarded by Osama Mir bowling from the other end or Imad bowling on the other end, and Shadab getting lucky with some wickets off full tosses and short deliveries. But I think when it comes to like more pressure matches against better teams, like an England team, or when you go to the World Cup playing against India, or even these like USA and Canada, these are not going to be easy teams to beat by any means. So if you bowl bad deliveries, short stuff, full tosses, it's going to go for boundaries. And in the short format, all it takes is one bad over from your side to change the whole course of the game. So I'm very concerned.
When we were with Islam United, we saw Shadab work on his bowling a lot. It's his torque, his pivot, his foot landing. We even helped him record some videos just so he could look back and see what he was doing wrong. Do you think in the back of his head, it's just the confidence issue, or has he actually lost his ability to drop the ball in a specific square, like he did in the Champions Trophy 2017, like he did in 21 World Cup? What has gone wrong with him? Is it just a mindset thing, or is it actually that his skill set has left him?
Well, he bowled decent in the PSL. I wouldn't say he was at the top of his bowling game. His economy was still up in the 8s. I think Shadab is a better bowler than that, the peak Shadab that we know. It could be the fact that someone's identified some technical errors in his bowling, and he told us like he needs some time off to work on technical stuff. I myself have been trying to fix my back foot contact while I'm bowling medium pace, and I practice it in the nets, but when I go to the game, my muscle memory isn't as strong enough. So I just go back on what I know, which is technically incorrect. Mm-hmm. And then I lose pace, I lose my swing, I lose my line length, I lose my snap, if you want to call it, as a pacer. So it's tough, and you need time off. You need a series off to work on that stuff. So Yeah, I'm a bit double-minded as to what happens to Shadab because I still feel like he's a genuine match winner as a fielder and as a batsman. If he gets his bowling right, we could have a deadly Pakistan team.
Do you think Babar Azam has lost confidence in Shadab?
After benching him for one match, I don't know if it's losing confidence or if he was safeguarding Shadab. We'll get to see exactly what happens this next series. I was personally very happy to see Azam being in the runs. Like you can say it was against Ireland or you can say it was against, in a situation that Pakistan was already comfortable. But I think it's important for him to come out, score that 10 ball 30 and then his cameo today. It's a glimpse of what Azam Khan can do. So I'm excited to see how he continues his form against England, in the World Cup. It seems like they've had the chat with him that he's playing the World Cup. So Azam seems a bit more relaxed when he goes and he's playing his shots. And I think that's when he's the most dangerous because there's not a lot of players in Pakistan who can change the course of the game with the bat with such six-hitting ability. Like I think Azam also achieved his milestone of getting to 200 sixes and T20s. And he is the second best. He has the second best balls per six ratio after Asif Ali. So, if that says anything about Azam and his ability to hit sixes and change matches, that's what we need to know.
What about his wicket keeping?
Yeah.
30 20 was glaring.
He missed some catches. He missed some stumpings. And
some buys were also given.
There's no debate that Mohammad Rizwan is Pakistan's best wicketkeeper. At the same time, Pakistan has a serious problem in the middle order, and we don't seem to have an answer for that aside from Azam Khan, which is why we see him performing in leagues and performing in the PSL. And that's why he keeps coming back into the team because we don't have any alternatives. So I think given the conditions in the CPL that he's played in, the conditions following in the World Cup, we can compromise on Azam's keeping abilities, given that he wins Pakistan matches. That's the only way to compensate for his keeping not being at par with Mohammad Rizwan. I really hope that come to crunch matches against an India, against a semifinal or quarterfinal, he doesn't make any keeping blunders because that's really going to highlight stuff. Not just because he's a keeper, but because he's Azam Khan, the keeper. So that just comes with a lot more baggage.
Babar scored a 4-ball duck in the second game, which then led to a extremely viral tweet by Backward Point, which is being currently deconstructed on Twitter and destroyed. So if you guys want to take a little laugh on that, you guys can check out the replies and quote tweets on that. But then Babar comes back and scores a 75. And in 1 over, he scored 4 sixes off Ben White. Honestly, I was watching that live and I thought he could have gone for a 6 for 6. The one dot ball was a half tracker. I was like, Babar, how did you miss that? You picked up 3 beautiful deliveries, 2 straight, and then 1 on mid-wicket. And it was very similar to the 4th 6 he hit. If you guys look at that replay again, the 4th 6 he hit was a very similar delivery to the delivery before, which was a dot. And I think he could have gone 5 for 5 for sure. And once you go 5 for 5, the 6th one is right on the cards. I thoroughly enjoyed it, even with the bad broadcasting. I thought it was a great display of hitting from Babar Azam. A lot of people are trolling Basit Ali right now because he said that if Babar Azam scores 3 consecutive sixes in an over, I will quit my YouTube channel. And honestly, I think
Basit Ali, we are waiting. We are here. We are waiting. We are watching. I think when Babar hits sixes, it's one of the most beautiful sights in the world. I think his down the ground game or his grounded shots on one side, but his six hitting ability on the another side. I'd love to see him improve that because come the World Cup, we will need Babar to not just anchor, but also play the role of an aggressor when the time comes. So I was glad again that Pakistan was chasing today and they did a good job while chasing that with balls to spare. Babar is one on the runs. That's what you need.
What was your big takeaway from this series?
My big takeaway was Shaheen Afridi's bowling.
There we go.
The fact
I wanted you to talk about this.
The fact that post-captaincy, Shaheen just seems like a different bowler. He is a man on a mission. He's looked lethal. He just went to the milestone of 300 international wickets for Pakistan. And he is only the 12th bowler to get there. And if I have the stat right, he is the only Pakistani bowler in the past 12 years to get to this milestone. And this is considering that he sort of lost a few months to his knee injury, then he was not back in rhythm, got injured again. So Shaheen was destined for greatness. And I think Shaheen is back on track to get to that level. With the whole episode of his captaincy being given to him and taken away, I think he is coming back with a different mindset. He has a point to prove. There were chats of Shaheen being dropped altogether from the team. There were chats of workload management, but Shaheen still keeps coming up, bowling at good pace, has good variation, and still the best new ball bowler in Pakistan. I just want to see Naseem Shah bowling at his best, because once Shaheen and Naseem, that combination gets going, I would be surprised to see other teams get to a score like a 50 or a 45 in the power play against Pakistan. Naseem hasn't been at his best since his comeback, and I think he's just getting used to the pressures of international cricket. Once Naseem comes back and Shaheen's there, give it to me, bro. Shaheen, Naseem.
Add Haris Rauf there, and then Mohammad Amir as your fourth seamer. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to take a few questions from Patreon. I shot them a message, our patrons. Our number one fans, actually. I love them to bits. Call coming in soon, very soon. And a lot of these questions we had already answered just because of the nature of the podcast. So Ali Khan's question is about setting targets versus chasing targets we mentioned. Yusuf Amir Shamsi asked, after this series, I hope you realize that Rizwan is probably the most important player in this team. Bobsy is still king though. And Razia also said, Rizwan's still not in his squad, Nazar Bhai Lal. Just mentioned it, Razia and Yusuf. Yusuf, the other Yusuf, says, Azam Khan did poorly the stumps in the third T20I, given his keeping skills are weaker than Rizwan's. Can his inclusion still be justified? We touched upon that briefly. If Saim Ayub carries his form like this, can we play him at the World Cup? Again, all of this was discussed a little bit. I love Hamza's comment here. Hamza says, my wife does not like the emotional wreck I become whenever we lose a qualifier or a big match in general. She's a moderate / stable fan who celebrates our wins, shares some generic match memes, but isn't too bothered when we lose. What should I do to make her understand my depression? Honestly, Hamza, I host a cricket podcast, and my wife could not give less of a shit about cricket. So I think that's just the loss that you have to take in life. I think the thing in La La Land, the movie that I learned, is that people are obsessed with what other people are obsessed with. And if you just keep showing your passion, she will come around, and just she'll hop on the bandwagon, and that's the most you can expect. And that's just happy plays. But I would love to take your opinion on
yeah. Same. My wife also doesn't like me watching cricket so much.
This podcast is his wife.
Honestly. I hope she understands one day. One day she will get it.
And Amar Ramnani had very similar thoughts as well. We touched on everything. One thing that he wanted to, he said was, should we keep resting Haris, or do we need to give him some game time? We did a whole bit on Haris. I think it's criminal that Mohammad Haris is not.
I think he means Haris Rauf.
Or did he mean Haris Rauf?
Yeah, because I think Haris Rauf was set to be fit, but then he wasn't given any matches this series.
Okay. No, I'm okay with him being rested. It's fine. Give Abbas Afridi the game time. Give Mohammad Amir some game time. I feel like they needed a little bit more than Haris Rauf does. Haris Rauf in T20Is, don't get your white ball games twisted. He's still the best. And what happened at the World Cup in 2023 does not define who he is as a bowler in T20. So yeah, I think you will see him come back in the English series for sure. I think that's a wrap for us, Bashar. Is there anything else you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the England series, and hopefully Pakistan announces their World Cup squad by then.
Is it going to be vastly different from the series squad?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see what playing 11s Pakistan plays, because we haven't seen Usman Khan in action still. Like, is he part of the plans? Why did Salman Ali go to England? Why was Hassan Ali brought back for the series, given one match, got smashed all over the place? So a lot of questions still up in the air, unanswered. And hopefully in the next coming series against England, which is going to be a tough one because England's best players are back from the IPL. This is going to be a full strength England squad. Jofra Archer is going to be back. Chris Jordan is back. And again, like I mentioned, all of their main players. So Pakistan is facing a full strength team after a long time. This is going to be a huge challenge, and I'm looking forward to it.
I think it'll be really fun actually to watch again, we've mentioned many times before that watching cricket in English conditions are the most favorite thing that we can do. We'll try to stream a few of those games as well. Bashar currently has a movie to catch. He's watching Challengers in IMAX. So Bashar keeps pointing out the watch to me, and I keep delaying it just to give him some trouble. But no, I'm gonna head out as well. Thank you guys for watching. Please check out the Patreon if you guys want to be part of the cricketing community. Check out the Discord servers. Check out all the links in the bio and the description below. And stay tuned for the Carlos Brathwaite podcast because that's dropping soon as well. Thank you very much for tuning into Backward Point, and we'll see you guys in a bit.
See ya.